Hello everyone, this is theStC here, and I am back with some more Starcraft 2 action. This time it is going to be from the ONOG, also known as the One Nation of Gamers, or the ONOG. I don't think anyone actually calls it ONOG, but that was a lot of fun, so I decided to. And I want to talk about that in just a moment, but first we have to introduce both of these players. And since this is my first series from this tournament that I wanted to cast, I figured why not start it off with two of my favorite nerd ballers in existence. Of course, one of them is going to be Liquid TLO, spawning up in the right side. He has been on Team Liquid for an extremely long time and has switched races a couple times. Used to actually play random in the beta. He is a huge fan favorite. So if you don't know what all the hype is about TLO, just know he's kind of OG. He's been around since the beginning of StarCraft 2. He was able to have success in those early tournaments with some absolutely hilarious and creative play, and then he's been kind of riding that awesomeness all the way to today. Now spawning down the bottom left side, it is hands down one of my favorite Terran players, especially in the matchup TvT. It is going to be Select himself, so that means we are going to have a TvZ. I do love Select's TvZ as well. The reason I love his TvT is because he plays it a little bit unorthodox and really relies on pure mobility instead of, you know, slowly pushing out with just pure marine tank the whole time, or even pure mech, which a lot of players do. He instead opts to go for bio, dropping all over the place. Sometimes you'll see games where he's dropping at 3 places at once. Pretty bananas, if you ask me. The map is going to be Cloud Kingdom, which is one of my favorite maps simply because it was created by someone outside of Blizzard, so someone who really wants to help the competitive scene, and it managed to end up actually making it into a lot of tournaments and being supported by Blizzard itself. So props to Blizzard. Does look like Select going to be throwing down his barracks. Ah, it's not a bunker or a barracks, it's a command center, Husky. Come on. His command center on the low ground, and I'm going to be completely honest. If I was a Terran player, I would never do this, because I would be that guy who would lose to about 6 Zerglings in the first couple minutes of the game. So Select is going to take a little bit of a risk here, and yeah. A couple more things I want to mention really quickly. TLO has been growing an epic man beard for like a year now, and he said he's not going to shave it until he is satisfied with his recent results. Now, that means he's basically setting himself up for either A, having an extremely long beard, which he currently does, or B, being able to shave it off once he completely crushes through a couple of tournaments. So we're going to see exactly which one is going to happen here. This is from the pool play of the ONOG tournament, and I believe this is their second one they've had. So I wanted to mention the ONOG, which is One Nation of Gamers. The guy was actually really nice, one of the people who is working with them, basically. It's a series of, not a series, it's a big group of bar crafters who actually pool together a bunch of money, for, I'm guessing from admission fees and things like that, and then they actually host tournaments which would encourage people to go to more bar crafts, which in turn gets them more money to continue hosting tournaments. So this is literally fans pooling together money, setting up their own events, and making stuff happen for these players and giving them the opportunity to showcase their skills. I believe they've raised around $8,500 for tournaments is what he said in the email, and I'm going to go ahead and post their info down below, so if that's something that interests you, if you want to figure out how you can get involved, or if there's a barcraft in your area, I will definitely post that down below, and hopefully in the future try and get more replays for you guys to cast from these events. There are a lot of top tier players. There was Koreans involved. Obviously Select is Korean. TLO is Mr. German himself, and this again is the pool play, so we're basically waiting to see how these players size up against each other in the initial pool play. It is a 16-player tournament. I don't know what other info I can throw out there other than looking at what has happened in the game so far, which is Select's expansion up and running about as early of an expand as you can get, especially when your name is TERRAN, because Terran players are very vulnerable usually when they secure their first expansion this early. A lot of Zerg, either 1 or 2 base all-ins, can really punish that. Obviously, TLO is going neither of those. He is going to be going for a 3rd base right there, grabbing that expo fairly early. This isn't the earliest I've ever seen. Idraman, I swear, he uses his 1st and 2nd drone to make the expansions. They feel so early. But it does look like TLO is safe to go ahead and do this because he knows that his opponent, at least I imagine he knows. Yeah, he does have an Overlord up here. He knows the timing of Select's expansion. And he's saying, okay, well, I can either try and break this, or I can expand. If he just sits back on 2 base, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. We do see Select now moving out with a couple of Hellions. And my apologies if I do get the names mixed up, as TLO did play Terran in the past a lot. So Select is the Terran, obviously, in this game. But if I mess up the names, I do apologize. It's hard to keep up with TLO's constant race switching. Not that it's all that constant. He started as random, then went Terran, then went Zerg. So I guess it's not all that many times, but it does look like Select now going to set up that slight contain with just 2 Hellions. I don't believe he's going to make any more than that. Well, he does have 4. Is he going to... Yeah, he is going to go ahead and stop it for... No, he's got to keep making 2 more. Select, you make me look like a fool as usual because I love Select's playstyle. It's always surprising me. Not that 6 Hellions is completely unsurprising, but is definitely, I would say, less normal than what you would expect to see out of a Terran player. That does look at the Zerglings. Not in the best spot right there to take on those Hellions directly, so he is going to go ahead and retreat, attempting to take out the Queen as well. A nice play here by Select. Usually you're not going to see a Queen go down. Instead, you're going to see TLO sacrifice a couple of those Zerglings. You do have a massive amount of Banelings morphing in right here. Looks like TLO is going to go for it here. He will snipe 2 of these Hellions. A surprising amount of Hellion kills there. Oh no, a missed micro there by Select. He actually attacked the rocks instead of the Zerglings. Here comes the Banelings though, rolling on in, taking out 3 depots immediately. Got to go for the bunker as well, and they will take that one out. I believe there's only 1 Marine, maybe 2 inside of that bunker, but this Baneling bust is not going to end here, as it does look like TLO is going to continue to attack. I don't think he's done enough damage, though, as Select does have units that are pretty good versus Zergling Baneling in the Marauder Hellion, although he does get an amazing surround, no blue flame in sight, and actually the build that Select was going is extremely good versus what TLO was doing, but TLO found the perfect time to pull this one off, and the SCVs unfortunately are stuck there, and since the supply depots are raised, that means the SCVs are just sitting here getting completely owned. Select is not playing his best game I've ever seen by far, but TLO's timing was phenomenal. More Zerglings running on in. The SCVs are still stuck on the ramp. He could put those on hold position, although he wants to watch out for those Banelings. The SCVs are trying to clean up these links, and indeed he will be able to. And a lot more resources lost there by TLO. How many workers was he able to kill overall? 12 workers have been killed. Looks like he's sniping 1 or 2 there at the last second. Units here shows 38 SCVs to 38 drones. TLO still committing to this, but now that the Marauders are here in force, he's not going to be able to do all that much damage at least if the Hellions decide to join in. There we go. He can easily focus down these Banelings. Those are the important things. Banelings are not cheap. They may feel cheap when you're a Terran player and they're blowing up all your stuff, but you got to remember, every single one that dies is a lot of money spent for the Zerg player. And look at how low these Marauders are on HP. 1 HP. This guy's got 5. He's in the 2 HP club and 25 on that one. Now, I love this build that Select's going, but I really liked how TLO basically prevented it from moving out into the center of the map. There was a really specific timing that Select was going to look for because he wanted to get there before any sort of Mutalist route or anything like that, because basically look at the unit composition. The Marauders take basically no damage from the Banelings, and the Hellions are so good versus the Baneling and Zerglings that you run the Hellions around the Marauders. The Marauders, of course, do a little bit of damage, but not a whole lot. And TLO, I think, recognized that as a potential threat and decided to go for it. You can see Select definitely wanted a specific timing here. He is moving out into the center of the map right now. It is spotted immediately by TLO, so he decides to back up and go home. You got to remember that Select, if he would have done this with full HP units, he would have been in much better shape. And more Zerglings running on by here as TLO just really making Select have to work for this game, as he is forcing him to play defensively here. Looks like the Hellions have moved up now, but Select's timing on this is going to be, I would say, atrocious compared to what he would like, because these Marauders are so low on HP. There's no medevac to heal them. We do have a 3rd base on the way now, but I believe that this is going to be enough Zerglings to kill off this attack. Here comes the Banelings, and they don't kill off those Marauders even though they're so low on HP. But you gotta remember, this attack is terrifying, but not when they have so little HP. It does look like the Zerglings get the perfect surround, and they are going to trap all these units. Indeed, Select's army is going to get cleaned up here. Definitely way over extending himself. I almost said over expanding, but that's not quite what he's doing right here. And we do have some some rallied Marauders up here getting forgotten about, I believe, as Hellions continuing to harass just a little bit, but I don't think that this was intentional by Select. He has units all over the map right now. He is trying to kill off an Overlord in the center. Will actually get that Overlord, but at the cost of 3 Marauders. Not going to really be worth it there when all is said and done. But is TLO going to gear up for another attack? It does look like he is going to go for it. Does he raise the depots in time? Oh, misclick right there. Almost allows the Banelings in. But that does mean the Banelings are able to take out 2 depots. This one does burn down, rolling into the SCV line, and killing a lot of workers right there. Still splitting up those Banelings fairly well. TLO continuing to be aggressive here. It does look like that other depot will go down, and TLO evening the score just a little bit. and escapes out of there with his Zerglings alive. Units tab here, 51 drones to 39 SCVs, but a lot of mules being dropped. How many? 6 mules at a time. Pretty crazy stuff. Looking at the spending tab here, though, you can see just how much TLO has invested in these armies, and he is continuing to do this off of the 3 base, but he has made a couple waves of drones, which is why he is ahead in workers, and also, you know, Banelings killing all the workers at the expansion also helps out a little bit, but we do have the +2 armor on the way, the +1 attack, which means that these Hellions are going to have a more difficult time killing off the Banelings, as they will survive more and more hits, but it does look like more Hellions will be taken out here unless he can lower them and get them away. Nope, he does back them into the Great Wall of Depot, though, and that does mean that these Hellions will survive for now, at least long enough for the Marauders in the back to do a lot of damage. Now, really, what Select has to be careful of here is if TLO tech switches into Mutalisks, which I don't think we see really happening. We do have Baneling speed, so he has invested in that quite a bit. And an Infestation Pit going to go down. Now, the reason I say watch out for Mutas is because, I mean, look at this base, completely undefended, and I believe not a single unit that can even shoot air. With, yeah, 6 Hellions and 8 Marauders, that means he has no anti-air whatsoever. He does, though, have a supply lead, which is fairly substantial given the matchup. As Zerg, you always want to try and have a slight supply lead. You also always want to have an expansion lead, so his expansion timing going to be good. Now, this is the sort of timing that Select has been looking for, where he can push out with a lot of units, although he has to watch out for the counterattack. Once again, Select needs to save these Marauders, raise the depots, and unfortunately for Select, he may be able to deny this 4th base, but he has to retreat with these Hellions back here. Blue Flame is done. And you know what that means, some roasty toasty links. Should it come down to it, you don't see Blue Flame all that much. TLO, though, is taking a beating over here, losing the 4th base, not able to counterattack, and he needs to kill off these Marauders immediately. He knows that he's going to stem and try and separate these Marauders as best he can, doing a decent job, but this is one of the most peculiar games I've seen in a while, as we are seeing the battle spread far and wide. And this is one of those situations where you always ask, well, why don't Terran players go for Marauder Hellion versus Baneling Zergling? And we're seeing it kind of play out here. Both players doing an okay job, but both players have also had substantial losses. 9,500 resources lost to 10,000. TLO still behind in that regard. Does look at SCB. He's going to be transferring over here. Please tell me it's a planetary. No, he decides to go for the risky maneuver, making an orbital, and also leaving an Overseer right there. Want to take that out if possible. But the reason I said it's risky is because the Banelings get in there, and indeed almost taking out every single SCV. Look at this, he is forced to set them to auto-repair, which is not only costing him money, it's also costing him mining time. And TLO continuing to be so very aggressive with these Banelings. We do see a transition now into some Marines, just because, well, he may not have all that much gas to spend. Well, I guess he kind of does here, so he just wants to get some of those cheaper, potentially more cost-effective Marines in there. A lot of Zerglings getting roasted away, and looks like Select just barely missing those Zerglings as they are going to be able to run into this expansion, begin taking out an SCV or 2. No, they are set to auto-repair, so the Zerglings taking very little damage, but the SCVs taking almost none as they are auto-repairing. I don't think they're going to get a single SCV there. And it does look like moving forward now, trying to deny that 4th base. Once again, he could have sniped it, I think, but it does look like TLO backs up just in time to defend that location, and another attack from Select has been taken out. I gotta hand to Select, though. I love watching these styles of attacks and unit compositions. The Hellion's going to attempt to take out the hatchery. They maybe actually be able to, but no, the Fungal going to be devastating here. He needs to be careful. It's so tempting to stay and kill off all those Lings, though, and he will do just that. One more shot will take it out. And we are now seeing a transition into Roach Infester out of TLO, while at the same time we're seeing the standard Marine Siege Tank medevac, but definitely at a non-standard time. The Zerglings counterattacking once again. Select cannot afford to be losing these workers, especially this unit right here, able to defend that location, is going to indeed do that. So talk about a non-stop game. This has been one of the most non-stop games I've seen in a while. TLO finally able to secure that 4th base. How are his upgrades looking? He does have the 2 armor. The 2 melee attack is on the way, as well as the +1 attack for his newly founded Roach army. Those look like several Overlords are going to get taken out. I was wondering why there were so many in the center. I'm thinking it's just because of a rally point. This isn't going to supply block TLO, but it will definitely force him to recreate some of those Overlords, which is very nice, and it's just pushing that unit's loss tab more and more into Select's favor. But considering that Select is only on 3 bases and only 2 of them is mining, is he actually ahead? That is going to be the question here. But double the amount of resources spent on the army, and here we go. Can he kill off the Lynx? No, the Fungal going to be too devastating right there. And TLO's unit composition, what does the Terran player do to deal with this? Well, we're about to see if Select has what it takes. He currently does have a siege tank or two on the high ground, which does guard basically both entrances, but does allow the Zerg army to move up in this location. And Select has a command center here to make this wall in a little bit into the Terran's favor, but I don't know if it's got to be enough. It is 164 supply to 119. TLO is going to go for it, and I don't know, the siege tank's able to do a lot of damage here. The positioning is absolutely perfect, but the SCV numbers have been severely reduced. The Roaches getting right up in there, and the Banelings doing a lot of damage as well. You can see the SCVs transferring away fairly low on HP, plus a lot of the energy on those medevacs being used to keep the SCVs alive, which is not an ideal use of energy whatsoever because you can just repair those units. But does look like the Infestor is going to get into a good position. Does he fungal? Does he throw out Infested Terrans? No, decides to retreat while he still can. But how long is that going to be for? He is going to lose just one of those Infestors, and the other two escape with 1 HP apiece. And this game, I feel like it's a computer versus a computer where they're just sending in non-stop amounts of units. It does look like TLO able to take out a depot or two here as well. Units lost still favoring Select, but Select, you gotta remember, hasn't been able to spend as much because he hasn't mined as much. So that means that TLO can afford to lose some units. Shouldn't lose all these Overlords though, although he will get some free kills here. 1 Overlord, and 2 and 3 should go down. Not sure about the others. He does decide to take out that one, and you don't want to fight up that hill. It's so tempting, but with Overlord speed, he is going to be able to escape with that one safely. The drone's transferring over to the top left side, so TLO is now up to 5 bases, to the Terran's only 3. You gotta remember, though, that TLO is only mining really off of 2 bases, sort of. I guess this kind of counts as mining, although at the same time, Select only mining off of 1. So what Select may do here is try and muster up as many forces as he can and just push out with what he has, but TLO has been spot on with the counterattacks. Is going to force, I guess, that Select's just going to throw down a bunker right here with the 1 siege tank here to defend. He has got to be a hero tank. Here goes Select right now. This is going to be all in for him at this point, but he did stem too far forward. He must have been looking somewhere else. That is going to cost him a couple of Marines and a lot of splash damage to himself as well. Here comes the Infestors. Do get 1 fungal going down. The Zerglings are going to be dropped. Look at this. No, it's Bane Rain at the expansion. Even the siege tank could not protect those workers with that wall in. And the command center is almost in the red. Now it is in the red. And if Select is unable to commit here, unable to kill off at least 2 bases, it looks like TLO may actually be able to take a game here. Talk about phenomenal play from TLO, splitting up those Zerglings beautifully, although really just kind of running them to their death. But I think if he just keeps streaming links down here, he'll eventually be able to clean it up. Indeed he will. There's only 1 tank left, and away it goes. But Select, the macro master that he is, able to build up a lot more units, but he just does not have the money to continue doing so. I don't even think he can afford to repair this command center right now, as he is forced to drop mules to be able to do so. But unfortunately for Select, he can't kill off these bases. Even if he does kill off both bases, I feel like TLO, already with a 30 supply lead, is going to be able to do just fine. He can slowly pick away at this army. This is such an uphill battle for Select right now. He's got to do everything he can, but here we go. This is going to be it. Can Select micro here? Well, you really can't micro that well versus a good fungal growth. Only 4 Marines remain right now. Select is making 5 Marines at a time, but when the supply is 59 to 98, really what you do is trying to focus down that poor drone. These Marines running around with the Benny Hill theme playing, but he is forced to retreat with just, what is that, 3 Marines? 2 Marines, I think, inside of those medevacs. And yes, he did manage to get some mining going on here, but the fact of the matter is he was not able to hurt this expansion. This expansion is still available for mining. There's even a couple mineral patches remaining outside the natural, and of course, how could we forget the 3rd base right here? It's fully saturated there. If we do look at the income tab, it's still fairly good for the Terran player because he is dropping a ton of mules. That's really going to be his only option at this time, as he needs to lift off and take another base. But I think he realizes the time is running out. And the fungal on the Marines! No, the Banelings able to do what it takes to force the retreat once again. Select able to save the majority of those. But you got to remember, man, Select is running out of time. Yes, he may be able to mine very quickly with 3 mules and 3 command centers dropping mules only on 1 base. But that means that that base has only got a minute or 2 left in its life expectancy. So as long as TLO stays focused, then he can easily win this game. Although he is taking a bit of a risk here, throwing down the Ultralisk Cavern, working on triple upgrades here. He has the +3/+3 as well as the Crackling Speed upgrade. So he has spent a lot of money on tech right now. And if there's a time for Select to punch TLO, it is going to be now. He needs to kill off that Spine Crawler immediately, though, because it was in range of that tank, which means these drones are very vulnerable to attack. Select, though, knows that, I mean, again, time's running out. He's only on that one last base. TLO knows that he's got to go for the kill here, and I think if he cleans this up, he will be in a commanding position, although a bit of a weird micro there by TLO, but he is going to kill off this army, it looks like. The one tank right here, though, trying to get as many kills as he possibly can, and may survive. Nope, the Roach is cleaning that one up, and Select is running out of options here. Units lost still favoring Select, but considering that TLO's been on those 5 bases for quite a while now, that means that he can afford to do this. Select is really good at staying around in a game and forcing a Zerg player to have to scramble around non-stop. But unfortunately, I think that this is it for him with Infestors on the high ground, getting the perfect surround. There is no chance of escaping that massacre, and indeed he did not. Only a couple of units inside of those medevacs as poor Select not able to ever get back up on his feet, as TLO has been non-stop aggression this game and is even working on Ultralisk now. That is going to be the nail in the coffin that is on the camel that broke the camel's back. That, what are some other examples? It's like the last one of this that did this. One of these days I'm going to link them all together and it's going to be awesome. But for now, Select still trying to stay in this game. I got to hand it to him, as a lot of players do GG too quickly, but I mean, really he is running out of options. Really his only option is to try and win with these wave after wave of units instead of trying to look for a long-term macro solution. The upgrades this entire game have been 1-1 for Select, but as soon as he sees that first Ultra, he says GG and immediately leaves the game. And of course we get a giant explosion of awesomeness with Marines dying everywhere. So TLO, man, maybe he will not have to keep that beard for long, as it looked like the creep running down that cliff. That's pretty cool. But yeah, able to completely crush one of the best Terrans out there. He has been consistently good for a really, really long time. Able to beat TLO straight up in a ZVT, and I really love the build order out of both these players. Such unique builds going on. I absolutely love it. Didn't see a single Mutalisk from TLO, and you know what? I can't say that I blame him, because I love watching Infestor, Zergling, Roach. Such a crazy composition there, and he had really good upgrades as well. 3-3 with the Crackling upgrade, and it was too much for Select to handle. Now, can Select get back on his feet? I sure hope so in game number 2, simply because I love both these players, and I would love to see a game number 3. But we are about to find out in game number 2. Don't go anywhere, except for to the next video. And, of course, I'll see you guys next time.